This is The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. Repent, renew, reclaim. And
hey, I got my brain. Hey, Brain Joes. Although I don't hear, I hope y'all hear me. Hi. Oh my God, I sound loud to myself. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. This is episode 2.7. And I just want to say welcome, Brangels. Happy National Women's History Month. And I had ordered this t-shirt from Lady Red. I don't know if you guys know Lady Red. She's like a DJ, but it came today. I'm gonna have to tell her my Black History t-shirt came literally the day after Black History. But on the bottom it said 24/7, honey, 7 days a week, 24/7. So I'm just gonna wear it. I'm gonna wear it because I'm still gonna celebrate. And so let's talk about The Brain Truth with Allison Jordan. It's now on. I listed it this time. We are an iHeartRadio station, and we can be seen every Tuesday at 7:30 Central Standard on The Brain Truth Radio and YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, Google, Amazon Music, Player FM, TuneIn, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Okay. Well, what's wrong with me right now? Is it because it's National Teen Mental Wellness and I'm just being all teenagery? Oh, geez. Okay. Anyway. All right. Let's get to our sponsors. Swabs and Swirls, which of course you guys know it's our COVID testing company. So if you guys are ever looking to have a safe event, we are a mobile company. You can always get us at swabsandswirls.com or email us at swabsandswirls@gmail. Also, Pretty 1-2 Cosmetics, NAMI South Suburbs, which as you know, I'm on the board with, and NAMI Illinois, River Edge Hospital, Epic Arts and Entertainment, Patch Party Club, Brain Truth for Kana, and American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Now, if you ever want to be a sponsor, because we desperately need more sponsors. So to become a sponsor, go to thebraintruth.com. Go to the sponsor tab, and there you'll have all the information on how to participate as a sponsor. Also, you can always send us a donation to our Cash App, which is # The Brain Truth. That's Cash App, # The Brain Truth. And guys, we really do need sponsors. Like, we're not kidding. Like, this is not, do y'all see the stuff that we're doing? I mean, come on now. We need your help, and it's for a good cause, right? So also, if you want to learn how to become a Brain Gang member or a Brainiac board, because we're looking for 4 more board members, and add to our resource page, again, go to thebraintruth.com, and that's where you'll find all that out, okay? Now, tonight, I'm moving really, really fast because I got to be on time tonight. It's a whole lot of stuff going on tonight. It's a jam-packed show. So I want to go ahead and read my disclaimer so we can get on to the show. Okay? The Brain Truth does not serve the purpose of providing medical treatment or therapy services, diagnosis, prevention, or cure for any physical, mental, or emotional issue, disease, or condition. As a member of our audience, you agree that the Brain Truth does not assume liability for any physical or mental disease, condition, or issue, or any other type of loss or damage due to any information shared on our broadcast. All right. Now, I have the brain bit. Remember, if you guys ever want to write in and send us a brain bit, the brain bit is our joke because, of course, laughter is healing to the brain. So here's my brain bit for tonight. I read it earlier because Dr. Gettings, because she a psychiatrist, you know, she know all about the brain. I don't know if it was funny to her, but whatever. Anyway, okay. So to who is the brain's most important, oh, wait a second, I didn't even say this right. To who, okay, to who is the brain most important organ to? The most smartest and know-it-all to? To who does the brain think is the smartest know-it-all organ? Oh, the brain. That's the answer. Okay. See, y'all playing me. Y'all playing me. That's right, Ashley. Laughter is so healing. I think it's funny because, see, you know, like the brain and there's a know-it-all. And okay. Anyway, moving on. All right. So let's get into tonight's show. Okay, the topic we are going to talk about is mentoring and how it impacts our mental health and wellness. Because I think tomorrow is National Mental Teen Wellness, mental health. I'm gonna ask Dr. Gettings that it's mental wellness celebration, and we wanted to talk about mentoring and the impact it has on teens and their mental health. So, we have some really powerful guests, including two very important people who have had an incredible impact on myself and on Dr. Gettings. Our mentors are here tonight, which was really exciting to bring them on. But before we bring them on, I want to share 5 ways that mentoring positively impacts our mental health. Number 1, mentoring helps those struggling with isolation. According to the Mental Health Foundation, mentoring provides a support system helping people feel less alone. 2, mentoring reduces levels of anxiety. Harvard Business Review conducted a study researching the positive effects of mentoring on the mentors themselves and found that mentors experience lower levels of anxiety and found their lives more meaningful. Number 3, mentoring increases self-confidence. Those with mentors frequently reported increase in their self-confidence and self-esteem, diminishing limiting beliefs and feelings of worthlessness and futility and the mental health issues fed on. 4, mentoring helps people feel heard. Woo, yes. For those dealing with mental health challenges, having someone to talk to can be cathartic and supportive. I can attest to all of this so far. And number 5, mentoring helps give people hope. For those struggling with mental illness, feelings of anxiety and fear are common. Mentoring helps hold a person accountable to achievable goals and experience the hopes that comes from the success. So whether you are being mentored, or a mentor yourself, mentoring is beneficial for the mind, the body, and the soul. Ain't that something? All right, come on in here, Dr. Gettings, so we can talk to our mentors. Hey, Dr. Gettings, Dr. Gettings, Dr. Gettings, come on in, honey. Hi, Dr. Gettings. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
Hey!
Hey! How you doing? Oh,
I'm
no, I was a
doing
little giddy today. I think it's because I know we're going to be talking to youth, and all our important guests are just like a little
Yes,
goofy
you got
right
that
now.
youthful energy coming.
Yeah, I got my little
Talking
youthful stuff. I got my
about
t-shirt on. Got
yes,
Marine. Yeah, got my little brain truth nails done. How you like? How you like?
oh,
You like my
honey.
nail? You like my nail?
Yes,
You like? Okay, so we were talking before we get into it because I'm trying to stay on time.
yes.
I got a little bit, but before we get into it, I really enjoyed the 5 things that mentoring, because I really can resonate with that. And I'm so happy that my mentor is coming on and your mentor is coming on. But I guess before we even get into it, we also want to cannot move on in this show without talking about what's going on. I don't want to talk about what's going on in the Ukraine, but I do want to acknowledge right now that these things are happening, even if it just gives us a second, like a few seconds, just to sit quietly in prayer for them. And then when we come back from that, I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about what I've been going through. And I think we can ask some of our guests too, because we just can't ignore this. So let's just sit for about a good 30 seconds in prayer and remembrance of those that have already lost their lives. That's a deep breath. Oh my gosh. So I had called, I think we had spoke over the weekend because I was feeling a little low vibrational.
Yeah.
Just, I was talking about how I was just couldn't connect the feelings to the tears. It was almost like just tears were just flowing, but I couldn't identify I'm crying because of XYZ. But I think it's just our souls are just weeping and cleansing and just, we're so interconnected. What are you feeling about that, Dr. Gettings?
Well, I feel that we are all interconnected, like you just said. And although we can feel not close in proximity, I think the pressure and the weight of everything that changed within the last 5 days on a much larger scale, I think we all feel it. I think in light of World Teen Mental Wellness Day tomorrow, One of the things that I really do think about is how this is impacting the youth.
Yes.
And just how they're processing all of this, and really how this will affect them long term. Because one of the things that we focused on so much on this show is just what impacts brain health. And we know for sure trauma impacts brain health. And this is likely trauma in its worst form, or one of its worst forms. And so I really think about the damage that that's causing and the repair that's going to need to take place in order to help people, you know.
Exactly.
And so it's a lot. And I think that we all can feel it for sure. And
we can feel it.
Yeah.
I was looking at and I'm going to bring in our guests. I got one good minute, producers. I was looking at this Facebook because a good friend of mine's best friend moved to the Ukraine 13 years ago. He's like a world-renowned tango instructor. And I had just went to his Facebook and was like, you know, scrolling down, and like you can see days before they were out to dinner, living their best life. He was tango dancing, blah, blah, blah. And then the current video was him and his son walking through the street, and he was on a live video, and he was like,
I saw it.
And he was like,
oh, that's the sound of war. And his son said, I don't like it. It was very surreal. Like just
it was very surreal. Did you also scroll through to see how things happened before and they were going into the safe house?
I didn't. I saw him say, this is who we're staying with. This is where we, and you could literally hear the bombs in the nearby distance. So it was, and him trying to explain
such a reality check, because here they were a few days ago, just like us, just living their life, and then boom, just literally boom, right? And so if we don't learn anything from this tonight, in talking to our youth and encouraging one another and loving one another, is anything can happen tomorrow, right? And so we have to love one another, respect one another, you know, take care of these youth, give them some hope. And we've got some incredible guests tonight that are doing just that. So I'm really excited about it. So before we get started, let's bring on our mentors, because I'm so excited. Okay, so I want to bring on my mentor, Sasha Dalton. I'm going to read her bio. Sasha is a highly recognized and respected in the entertainment industry. She is a producer. She actually created the Chicago Gospel Festival under the late Mayor Hare Washington. That's how I met her. I started off as her intern. She is also known. She had a long running musical called Sasha Sings Dinah. It was the tribute to Dinah Washington. And she's also been recognized by so many different organizations, as she just did something tonight, history makers, because she's a history maker. But get this, there is something that's been going on in Chicago for many years called the Martin Luther King Breakfast. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but she created the very first one. I was the first person to set the table for the very
one at the Palmer House.
Yes, honey.
Oh my God.
And I need to know why I'm not on the VIP list every single I typed that all up. But anyway, come on in, Sasha, and then I want you to bring on yours too. So is Sasha Dalton with us? There you are.
I'm here. Hi, how are you? I love you so much.
Welcome to the Brain Truth with Alice and Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, your turn, Dr. Gettings. Bring in your person.
Okay, so I want to bring in Dr. William McDade. I met Dr. McDade when I was in college at the University of Chicago, and I had transferred there and was a young mom trying to find my way. And I found my way into the Student National Medical Association and met Dr. McDade after a meeting. And at the time, he was the Dean of Multicultural Affairs at the University of Chicago Pritzker School of Medicine. He has been an amazing mentor. A little bit about him. He has an undergrad degree in chemistry from DePaul, PhD in biophysics and theoretical biology from U of C, and a doctorate of medicine from Pritzker. And he is the first chief of diversity and inclusion officer at the ACGME. For those of you who don't know, that is the Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education. He makes sure that we see people like us pursuing education in medicine.
Okay, all right. Come on in here, doctor.
Hi.
Hey, where's our doctor? Hi, Dr. McDade. Nice
Unmute
to meet
yourself, Dr.
you.
McDade. You doing like me? I was still muted.
Unmute yourself. See,
So there
you
it
can
is.
be real brilliant and can't unmute, huh?
Well, I tell you,
So,
you can
okay.
be brilliant and still make mistakes.
That's terrible.
So aren't we kind of nervousy tonight because our mentors are actually in the building? This is like surreal. So I can just tell you, I'm going to first say just a little bit because we have like a good 10 minutes on how I came to know this incredible woman. And then, then you can say about yours, and then we can kind of ask some questions and get all nosy. But I was an intern for the special events department under Mayor Hale Washington. I was about 17 or 18 or something like that. And I came and Sasha welcomed me. I mean, I literally learned, I'm gonna get emotional because I always do, but I literally learned so much from this woman. Like when you talk about a powerhouse, like when she walked into a room, just her presence alone was just so vibrant, and things that she did historically in Chicago. And she's just humble because just now she's getting like a lot of her roses, from the city and acknowledgement through her book that she has out. But I just want to say thank you to you for loving me unconditional and teaching me so many different things. And I hope I did good as an intern. I know you you could tell me
Allison, when you walked in the office, I knew that you had a future. And I said to Michael Scott, let her work with me. It was all over you, your enthusiasm, your brilliance. And I always told you that. And I am so proud of you. You've always said what you learned from me. Well, I don't know what all of that was, but I do know, Allison, that you had talent, and I recognized it the first time I saw you. And look at the things that you did. You went on to work on Amen, the national TV show. You went to work with the William Morris Agency. You went and became the first director of the Women's MBA. So many talents that you had that I am so blessed that I recognize them. And whatever I did to help stimulate you and direct you, I am very proud of that. And I am more proud that with everything you have done, you have always acknowledged me. But I don't know that I deserve all of that, Allison, because you came pretty packed with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of enthusiasm. And sometimes you look at people and you say, she's got it. And I knew when I saw Allison, she had it. And I said it to her mother. The girl is going to have a future in this business, like it or not. You're not going to be, and they didn't like it. And so, but I said, like it or not, Allison is going to be somebody in the entertainment industry in multiple ways, and you are, and I'm so happy. But let me just correct you. I didn't found the Dr. King breakfast. The mayor said, let's do a Dr. King breakfast. So I don't want to take that credit away from the mayor. But I was blessed to produce it for 5 years that I was there. And you were a part of that and everything that I did. And I am so grateful for you, Allison. You're my girl. You're my other daughter.
You're my other mother. You really are. Thank you. Okay, your turn, Dr. Gettins.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you a question, Ms. Dalton. Can you tell me?
Oh, no, I thought you were going to introduce us your guy. But okay, go on.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well,
you're going to mush all over him so he can mush all over you.
Let me say this then. Dr. McDade helped me so much at a time in my life where there was huge change and a lot of just everything felt unpredictable and uncertain. And as a teen mom transferring from Dartmouth College to University of Chicago, I really felt an immense amount of pressure to really show that I could continue to pursue my educational goals. And there weren't a lot of people at the time people supported me for sure. But Dr. McDade really gave me a sense of that shouldn't be a barrier for you. And if for anything, it should be your motivating factor because your son needs to see that as an example. And as I sit here today as a child psychiatrist, I can remember Dr. McDade telling me one day on campus, he said, if you're going to pursue psychiatry, I really think you should pursue child because you should focus on prevention. And so sitting here today on the eve of World Teen Mental Wellness, I just feel like it's a full circle moment. And I want to thank you so much for keeping me motivated and inspired to pursue a career in medicine despite certain obstacles. And I know you've been that for so many people. Allison, you know, we had Dr. Noel Reed and Dr. Ashley.
Yeah, when she mentioned it, your face went, oh, that was mine. They were all Googling and goggling it.
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe, I think Dr. McDade just naturally is a mentor. And maybe you can share what has inspired you to be a mentor to so many, and yeah, what you've gained from it over the years.
Well, first of all, I have to say again how proud I am of you and all the work that you've done. I mean, being an undergraduate at the University of Chicago is no small thing. It's a very competitive school. The motto of the school and T-shirts is University of Chicago, where fun comes to die. I mean, it's a hard place to be successful. And I remember the very first time I ever saw you. You were sitting in Harper Court, or not in Harper Court, in Harper Hall, on the first floor on this bench, and you were holding Brandes, who was really small at the time. Now I imagine I heard Brandes' name, so I imagine he's a whole grown person right now. But,
21.
But he was a little tiny thing at the time. And I thought to myself, how is this poor child going to make it at the University of Chicago with a baby?
Wow.
And so you couldn't possibly say anything negative to somebody who was trying to overcome those odds. And it turns out you're absolutely brilliant. And so it takes that to be successful in what you've done. And then as you progressed through medical school, you didn't let any obstacles stand in your way. You graduated. You went on to a wonderful career. And although I don't talk to you that much anymore, I follow you on social media. I see all the things that you're doing. And it really makes me very proud that you've come so far and done so much with your career. It's really an incredible story.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Dr. McDade.
I'm always just like giddy and blushing. Usually every week we'd be like, yeah, and da-da-da-da-da, and da-da-da-da. Now we're like,
Dr. McDade is like,
I feel like I went back to being like a little girl. Is you're just, you're standing in front of giants. You're standing in front of people that took their time out to share things. I mean, and that's why I can't wait to talk to our guests tonight about mentoring, because it takes on something when you decide to help lead somebody in the right direction and succeed in a way, right? So Dr. McDade, tell us, you gave the story when you saw her and she had the baby.
I'll tell you another story.
Okay.
One of the things that motivated me to help to bring others along is that I was the only African-American student in my medical school class at the University of Chicago the year I was admitted. And I was also pretty young. I skipped a couple of grades, and so I was the youngest person in class, as well as being the only African-American student in class. And so, and as an MD PhD student, as you heard, and I was probably the first one in the program, the MD PhD program in Chicago. So there are a lot of things that were going on that kind of isolated me. And what I was pretty intent on doing afterwards is to ensure that the people who came after me didn't feel isolated, that they felt a part of a larger process. And, there's been amazing people who I've been able to encounter and who I hope to recruit and who've now gone and have amazing careers. And I think it's the satisfaction of seeing the work that you put in turn into the fabulousness of those people who have come through your pathway. But I'll tell you that the day that I really will never forget, and I was a third-year medical student rotating on the surgery service, and I was in the ENT, the ear, nose, and throat clinic, and I got to take care of a very special patient. And that's one of the advantages of going to medical school 3 miles from where you grew up. So I grew up at 83rd and Cottage Grove, and my grade school teacher in kindergarten came into clinic. And if you can't imagine how you feel as a person who gets to take care of your kindergarten teacher as a physician, and it really shows me why I actually went to medical school. It's to take care of people in our community. It's to take care and solve problems of folks in our community. It's one of the reasons that I studied sickle cell disease, because it disproportionately impacts African Americans. And so when you see the work that you do turn into something that actually benefits other people, as does mentoring, it becomes something that you really want to keep doing.
Wow. So did you have a question for Sasha, for Ms. Dalton, Dr. Gettings?
Yes, I do have a question. I want to know if you can tell me, 17-year-old Allison, what did she really want to learn mentoring under you? Like, what was she passionate about? I want to know what her drive and vision was at that time.
She was really passionate about learning how to produce events. And I think that Allison, didn't you attend Columbia College?
Yes, ma'am. That was my intern through Columbia.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Allison was very passionate about wanting to learn how to produce events. What is involved in that? And I took great pleasure in teaching her all of the steps. It's not just an idea is nothing if you don't know how to execute it. And Allison learned how to do events from every step of the way, not only from contracts to identifying talent, to making sure what the production elements were, and everything that she learned, and she attacked it. She attacked it like it was her life. Like, if I don't learn this, I'm not going to make it. But the thing that Allison, I don't think she didn't realize right away, is that so many things were innate in her, because Allison had such a passion. And, so much of so many things is really just logical application. And Allison was able to think logically, and that was good. And the other thing is, she knew how to think on her feet. And I always like that, because it's either this or that. But Allison knew how to apply that. So if it wasn't going to be the this, she was real quick on getting the that, if you understand what I mean. And she was a good negotiator. Very good negotiator.
I learned that from you. I'm sorry. I don't know.
But I'm just saying that I may have mentored Allison, but Allison came equipped. She just didn't understand how to put the application in process. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure working with her. And she just didn't stop at one thing. She wanted to know the whole business. She wanted to know everything. And I used to tell Allison, when she went to work for the William Morris Agency, I said, okay, now you're in with the big boys. You better come back and teach me some things.
Well, you know what? I don't even know if you know this, real quick, because we got about a good 2 more minutes. The late, great Michael Scott, he went on to work at City Hall Television and Windy City TV. And he took me with him. Do you remember, Sasha? He asked me to come over, and did I know how to use his program? And I said, yes. And I was sneaking in the building and sleeping there, teaching myself how to do it. And one day he walked in, he had on a tuxedo, he was going to some affair, and it was like a Saturday night. Like, why is he here? But he left he walked in, he looked, and I'm like, and then he was like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, and he was, you've been sleeping here? And then I said, well, I didn't particularly know how to do what you asked me to do. He said, you've been working here for 2 weeks and you don't know how to work it? I go, no. And he, in that moment, Michael Scott, and if anybody's watching it knows who Michael Scott is, he took his jacket off, loosened up his bow tie, and he said, I'm about to show you. And he sat there for about a good hour, late for wherever he was going. And then the rest is history. And I ended up working with him for another couple of years. So thank you, Sasha. I actually want to bring you back because I want to talk to you when you're all dolled up, because I know she just came from being filmed with History Makers, because I want to talk about your book. Do you have it? I want you to come back. Yes. And we're going to talk about your book that's out. I saw you at the band shell and the mayor and everybody recognized you. And I want to give you your flowers. So I want to do a whole thing with you this month, because this month is National Women's History Month.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It really has. Allison, working in the Office of Special Events and having you working side by side with me was one of the greatest joys of my life. And to see you now, you fulfilled everything that I knew that you would do when you first walked in that door and said, hi, Hi, I'm Allison.
And you had me book all the music while Mayor Washington laid and stayed in the rotunda.
Absolutely, you did
I
all of
booked
it.
Chaka. I was like, hey, Chaka Khan, hey, Stevie, hey, hey, y'all, hey, Patty LaBelle, like everybody. She let me have hands-on with everyone who performed. And it was just amazing. So I love you. I'm going to bring you back.
I love you too.
And I'll see you soon. I love you. And so you have your last closing with your person, Napash, Dr. Gettings.
Yes,
We'll move on.
Dr. McDade is my person. And even though we don't communicate as much as I would like, I just want to wholeheartedly thank you for your belief in me and helping elevate my belief in myself, because honestly, that's what I needed at that time. And I just wish more individuals had an opportunity to work with dedicated mentors. I really, really do, because it's priceless. So I thank you so much for carving out this time for us tonight. I really, really do.
Thank you for asking. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye, mentors. Bye, mentors. Bye, mentors. Bye, mentors.
Bye, Allison.
All right. Oh my God. That was super fun, everybody. Okay. So let's get on, because I want to bring in some mentees, because we're going to talk to the mentees and then bring their mentors on. So tonight we're going to be speaking to two very effective, successful mentors for amazing organizations. But before we bring them on, we wanted to speak with some of their mentees who have experienced the impact of their programs firsthand. Tommy has been a participant in Ladies of Virtue for 2 years. And we also have Malcolm Fox and Yoshi Hain Esquire, who are mentees of the Chicago Scholars. I like that little Esquire on the end of the name, honey. So where are mentees? Where are mentees?
Come on in.
Hi, mentees.
How you doing?
Hi, guys. So
how you all
I don't
doing?
know if you guys were listening to us talk to our mentors. Were you? Did you get a chance to see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's start with. So first of all, I'm Allison Jordan. Welcome to the Brain Truth. And then that's Dr. Gettings.
Hi.
Okay. And so tonight we're talking about not only just our being mentorees, because we're officially part of being a mentoree, but we also want to talk about the impact that it has too, because it's a show about our brain and mental health. So I want to start with each one of you guys can answer this question. Start with you, Malcolm. And then, let's go with the ladies first, and then Malcolm, and then Yoshi. How about that? But how has mentoring had a positive impact on your life? Ladies first.
Yeah, thank you. Mentoring has had a positive impact on my life, because beforehand, I never, this is my first mentoring program. So beforehand, I never really felt like I had that type of guidance. Of course, than for my parents, I didn't really have that type of guidance beforehand that really know what they're doing to put you on the right track. Because I love my parents, but sometimes they don't really know what's going on with school and personal life and stuff. And to have a mentor, my personal mentor is Brittany from the program Ladies of Virtue, and to have someone who checks up on you, who invites you to go places. Recently, she invited us to dinner, all of the girls she mentored, and it was really nice to get to know everyone really good. And it's just really nice to have someone who cares about you and who's actively checking up on you and giving you advice, and who's there for a shoulder to lean on whenever you're going through something, whether it's personal life, school, relationships, anything.
That's awesome. Okay, Malcolm, same question.
I would say the same. Just having someone in your corner that supports you, is rooting for you, is that extra shoulder to lean on in the time of need, has been everything to me. I've also learned that success in this world is not necessarily based on what you know, but who you know. So leveraging my mentor relationships to help me get into doors that I may not have been able to get into. I work with the McDonald's Corporation right now, and the reason I got my job was because of my mentor, who actually is who my mentor introduced me to. So my mentor introduced me to another mentor. So I would say just having someone in your corner that you know is rooting for you, has your best interests at heart, has been in your shoes before, and can provide that love and support when you need it, in addition to your internal support group like your mother, father, siblings, has been big for me.
That's awesome. And Yoshi Esquire.
Well, for me, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to even share. For me, mentorship is critical for both myself being mentored and then mentoring the next generation, especially as it pertains to expanding the 5% of attorneys that look like myself and the people on the screen. But for me, I think mentorship stands for being able to place what is your mentor's ceiling as your basement of your potential, right? So to be
Wow.
able to start from where they've reached as almost the starting point, and then to be able to further that. So to be able to place on those
Wow.
shoulders, and then to see just a bigger vision and almost slingshot it into what is, sort of a warm lead of all the things that they've been able to do, and then to make that your own. So I take it very seriously. I take it upon myself to mentor any and all people who are entering the legal field, or really just to use my connections to help them be better or access things that maybe they didn't have an opportunity to. But I think mentorship also stands for access. And so for a lot of us, we haven't entered a lot of spaces that give us the right access for success, and mentorship is one of those keys to unlock that door.
Dr. Geddes, you want to take another question?
Sure. I would say, as far as the balance between personal and your professional goals or academic goals, what do you find you rely on your mentors for the most? Is it a nice blend? Is it more helping you kind of envision what you want to pursue from an academic perspective? Or is it more navigating your own personal relationships and family?
I would say advice. Getting advice on how to balance and how to prioritize in order to make sure you're properly planning and executing. I would say I lean on my mentors for many different things, whether it's advice on my business or, for instance, my mentor who you all are speaking with today, Jeff. I spoke with him when it came to I'm actually applying to get a promotion back to headquarters in Chicago for McDonald's, and just navigating, talking with him on how to approach a different opportunity that was presented to me that necessarily wasn't what I was actually pursuing, and how to balance going from where I am now in Denver to where I want to be in Chicago. So I just lean on my mentor for a multitude of things, but definitely for that advice when it comes to balancing professional and personal objectives and goals of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yoshi, or who wants to take that?
I agree, because I'm now like a senior in high school, so like especially on the academic portion, and I just actually recently got into Urbana UC.
Yay!
Yeah.
Go, girl.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of my top college or choices in schools. And my mentor actually is an alumni from there. So I was like getting some advice from her on like what type of decision should I make. And she was giving me advice on like the type of school it is and how it's a really good school. So that was really cool and interesting. And also in terms of personal life, like for that balance, if I'm going through any issues, or if I have to talk about like problems I'm going through with my friends, or like things that are stressing me out mentally, especially like being in my last, a big major stepping stone in my life of like transitioning to the next step, having someone there to help me along the way has been like really helpful. So the academic side and like the personal life side has been a really nice balance in my relationship with my mentor.
Great. Yes.
Yoshi.
Yeah, I would just say it's a balance. And to echo what Malcolm said, one of my mentors is definitely Jeff, who's been phenomenal in both, mentoring by action, and just being an image of what success looks like for a Black male specifically, and providing sort of access. And a lot of the times it really isn't even, seeking advice. A lot of the times it's him providing access with all the resources he has, things that maybe he won't use at the time, or really just giving us access to achieve at the level that we're meant to. And that for that, I'm so appreciative, and I know that I can count on him in so many different ways. And I think another part of mentorship that's important is the mentee not only driving the relationship, but being able to provide mutual value, which is something I want to make sure is pretty much felt, that, mentees, whether we think we have it or not, have the ability to provide as much value as the mentor does with the right attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I heard that from my mentor, like, oh, what I do,
Right.
you know? And so, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Jeffrey is dope. Like, I wish he could be my mentor. Am I too old? You know, and both of them, you know, both of them are just some powerful people. So we got to bring them in. But before you guys go, wait a minute, I wanted to say something though, because Yoshi, you look so young. What kind of lawyer are you?
I'm a corporate associate at one of the top law firms in Chicago, Kirk
Oh
Allen.
my God. Don't you just want to go out with them and just be like, say this, like, tell them we can sue them, baby. Tell them we can sue them. Like, you know, you be out with me like, look, I'll sue you. Yeah, whatever. No, for real, I will. But no, all you guys just seem so articulate and just so, you know, it's just so amazing too that you actually are walking in the footsteps and then giving back through your success. That's got to make a mentor just super proud to be like, okay, so this works, you know. So before we go, I want both the guys to tell us, you know, why, if any of these young people out here watching, they should, you know, be a part of Chicago Scholars and the impact that it could have, because our audience are people that are living or know someone living with mental illness or mental wellness, and just add a little piece on about how that it can impact that. And the same with you. You know, tell us about Ladies of Virtue, which everybody knows about, and how, if anyone's listening, they should get involved.
I often say Chicago Scholars, I attribute so much of my success to them. They did so much for me. I can't even wrap up into words how much the organization means to me. I graduated from Howard University last May. And from times where I was going through mental issues and I just needed someone to lean on, I had mentors from the program who sat on the phone with me for hours and would just listen to me cry. I went through a point where I didn't have any money to fly home, and Chicago Scholars paid for my flights home. And then even after I graduated, like I said in May, I have a clothing brand which I actually have on the hat, Gratitude Chicago, where we use fashion as well as our platform to emphasize the importance of showing gratitude in your everyday life. And with that being said, we do a lot of community-based initiatives, and my most proudest community-based initiative was a project called The P, where I graduated from Phillips High School on the south side of Chicago, and I wanted to raise $20,000 in order to get a STEM department implemented in the school for students. The moment I called Jeff and told Jeff about that project, Jeff went harder than me, it felt like, to make sure I got the support that I needed. Not only did he bring in a donation, a hefty donation from Chicago Scholars, but he brought in 5 more corporate sponsors that I ended up receiving. He checked up in on me on my progress through the entire initiative. I can't wrap into words how important Chicago Scholars is, but I can just say, if you want to be successful, if you want to have resources, if you want to be connected and be supported and be loved, Chicago Scholars is the place for you.
That was beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So to echo a lot of what Malcolm said, I actually didn't have the opportunity to participate directly, but with Jeff being one of my mentors, you know, I'm very much a firm believer that mentorship is so important for just, you can't dream what you can't see or you don't have access to.
Yeah.
And so having a mentor, one like Jeff, who I know places his heart, his soul, his blood, sweat, and tears in Chicago Scholars, he wants to see every one of his people win. Anyone who is involved in the program, and even those who aren't, me being an example of that, he wants to see you win. And so to have access to such a powerful, dynamic figure, one who will pour into you as much as you want to pour into your own success, I think is critical. And I think I even had him on one of my episodes of my podcast called Per My Last, which is a visual podcast.
Like, oh, you have a podcast? What is it called?
I do. It's called Per My Last. And the goal is to give young professionals, specifically our minorities, an image of what success looks like. And then there's diversity in that image. And one of those episodes was Reach As You Climb. And so I had 2 of my big mentors, one of them being Jeff, on there. And really just to talk about, you know, he's on the season finale. We did it at his art studio. but just to have access to his image, access to his experience, and access to him has proved tremendous in my own experience. Even though I am a lawyer and he's not, he's given me such an image and an example of what it means to succeed at a high level. And I've been nothing but grateful and want to return that to him. So Chicago Scholars, if you have an opportunity, please jump at the opportunity, because he's doing nothing but great things. And I believe everything that he's doing is for the better of Chicago. And I look to add to that in any way I can.
Thank you. And then lastly.
Yeah, to add on about like how mentorship have changed my life, especially with Ladies of Virtue, even though I just joined like about 2 years ago, I will say that it has really changed my life for the better. Like throughout this whole entire, especially like with college applications and the journey of that, I would not have been able to do none of it without Ladies of Virtue, because I didn't know anything about it until like they gave us like mentors and college coaches, and we had virtual tours because of the pandemic, all those type of different resources, and like back to school fairs to get us prepared with school, but not only for school, but for also personal life too. Like we had field trips, activities where we got to know each other more, things like that. It's just really helpful because I'm kind of like an introvert, so I wasn't really that social beforehand. But Ladies of Virtue really opened me up to be more social, especially for like young Black girls who look like me. So that was really the important part. And I just like to give it all to them. Like, I don't think I'll be able to be who I am without them today. Like even going off, I thought that the program ended right here since I'm a senior, but actually they have like Ladies of Virtue, I believe it's called Ladies of Virtue and Beyond or something like that. And they still like look out for you and help you throughout college and even after that. So it's not just for young girls, it's also changing from adolescence to adulthood. So that's what really spoke out to me as well. And I just really enjoy this program. And shout out to Miss Jamila, who founded this program. She's just amazing and like poured her heart and soul into this program. And I have people like her.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, you guys. I can't wait to bring them on. I want to say thank you guys. Definitely hit us up about your wardrobe, your clothing line, so we can support it and I can promote it. Yoshi, I want to come on your show. How about I'll be on your show? On your podcast. And when I'll be telling people I'm gonna sue you, oh, you're corporate. Okay, well, we do that. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys. And the same with you, Tommy. I really love your spirit, your disposition. You have such a good energy. And it's so representative, all you guys, of your mentors. So let's get them in. Let's get your mentors in. And you guys take care. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, great meeting you guys.
Support the breakthroughs. All right, man. What was a common thread? And I'm going to get into it when we talk to them. Is the personal and the other stuff. Like, man, I got to call Tasha back. Did she loan me some money when I needed it? I don't know. I need to call her. No,
I ain't getting no money. I ain't getting no money. Okay, anyway. All right. So mentors different these days. Okay.
Right. These mentors are upgraded now. Okay. So let's bring in Jamila Tremuel is, oh my God, is a results-driven leader hailing from the South Side of Chicago, who encourages others to pursue purpose at all costs. She is the founder of Ladies of Virtue, of which I've heard of. I follow her. I stalk her. And an award-winning mentoring program that has empowered over 1,000 girls to become confident and purpose-driven leaders. Bring in Jamila. Come on in. We need some sound effect like, woo! Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
Hey, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I'm so happy to talk to you. Let me bring in my dude, Jeffrey, now. So Jeffrey Beckham Jr. is Chief Executive Officer at Chicago Scholars. In his role, Jeffrey is responsible for leading the development of the organization that serves more than 5,000 first-generation and low-income students to reach their dreams and pursue a college education. Jeffrey is a community leader, artist, and tech entrepreneur known for advancing the fight for equity for youth and marginalized communities throughout the United States. Come on in here, Jeffrey. Jeffrey! Hi, Jeffrey. Well, first of all, I want to say one thing. I just learned like yesterday, years old, that Jeffrey, you were black box too.
Yeah.
Taurus. Do you know I didn't put that together? I think Dr.
didn't know
Getty.
that?
I did not put that together.
Yes.
I just knew I knew you because you went to high school with one of my sisters, didn't you? Or you know?
So I went to Marion, but I was friends with Drew growing up, so we knew.
Oh, it's my sister Drew. As you guys know, Drew Sidor from Atlanta Housewives. What do you think about your friend on Atlanta Housewives?
I was room for her all season. You know, I was watching. I would text her like, "Come on, they know you from Chicago. Don't give."
Okay.
They don't want
when she said I'm from Chicago, I was like, we got to make a T-shirt. We got to monetize that. Come on now. Well, I'm so happy to see you, and Jamila, I'm so honored and humbled to see you and meet you. And I've been following the Ladies of Virtue. It's almost like the Gucci label, like the Nike label. Like everybody knows Ladies of Virtue. Am I lying? Am I lying? Like everybody, if you don't know, you've been under the rock that's under the rock. You know what I mean? So I'm just glad to see you guys. So, and then of course, you guys know Dr. Gaddings. Dr. Gaddings, you know him, right?
I know both of these lovely people. Okay. I've known Jeff since we were kids. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jamila at a retreat years ago where we were both working on our own vision and growth and all of that. So wonderful, amazing people. And we can tell by the fruit. Y'all got it. Okay, so I'm admiring. And
I've known Jeff since high school, so it's been
for real. Everybody know everybody.
Right.
Everybody know everybody. But Jeffrey, you started painting during COVID. Did I get that right? Because don't you have one of his pieces, Dr.
Yes,
Gaddings?
I do in my dining room because I was over here on my phone, like, look at y'all during the pandemic. I mean,
so what? You just thought you were just Picasso? You just woke up one day and say, "Oh, Picasso, that is me."
I think it's the perfect podcast for it. It was actually after a close friend passed away, Brian Sleet. I was actually considering like going into politics, and Sleet and I had a conversation about managing stress and mental health. And he was like, "What's your plan?" I told him I wanted to go back. I'm gonna play basketball. He joked. He was like, "You're too old for that, bro. Let it go." But then I said I wanted to, get back into art. I used to draw as a kid, and he said you should do that. Unfortunately, he passed the next day. The next day, and I went and got a canvas out the back, and I started painting. Then I actually didn't show anybody anything that I was doing for about the first year until I posted something I'd sketched, and people were like, "Oh, where'd you buy that?" And I'm like, "I didn't buy it. I actually painted it." Wow. And from then, it just kind of took off. But it's been a blessing. I mean, I've even been able to work with Jamila. I donated quite a few paintings for her young ladies last year. And just keeping it in the family. I mean, I really have used painting as a way to practice better mental health, better mindfulness practices, and to tell our stories.
Well, that's awesome. So it's like cathartic. It's like it's helping you. It was like, that's really profound. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know that the connection was that profound.
So let me just say, rest in power.
Yes.
Brian was one of the individuals who supported me the most when we were at Dartmouth and I was pregnant, circling it back to World Teen Mental Health, like just some good people and just it all coming full circle.
I just think people just plant things in your spirit and your soul and it moves you. And that's why we really have to stay connected to each other. I don't think anybody on this planet walking, my mother used to call it crossroads, when you have those crossroads with people, always know it's for purpose, So Jamila, I saw a common ground of everybody kind of talking when we talked to some of your mentorees, and they were all just kind of like, oh, I couldn't have done this without you all. And sometimes people are like, well, you can do like what Sasha, like you did it on your own. It was innate, it was whatever. But it really is exceptional to have people like you. I get emotional. I'll get emotional every show if y'all watch it. But to sit before you all who dedicate and pour your life into other people, right? That's pretty darn extraordinary. And then to see the result of it, right? And you just do what your God assigned you to do. So kind of walk me through like your life and why you're compelled to do this work that you're doing.
Yeah, I can start. So I grew up in South Shore, and I always say this because this is truly the seed that was sown into me. My dad used to always say, you're an African girl. You could do anything you put your mind to. So I grew up knowing like, okay, whatever comes my way, I can overcome any obstacle. And even though my parents divorced when I was 5, the one thing that remained consistent in both households was that they really talked about college. Both of my parents went to college and have graduate degrees. So they talked to me and poured into me the importance of education. They talked to me about the importance of finding your passion at an early age. And I took that for granted. I mean, I'm thinking, everybody's parents are talking to them about this. And it wasn't until my junior year in high school. So maybe Jeff may not know, but my parents had joint custody. So I would go to my mom's, who lived in the suburbs, which is how I ended up at HF, where I met Jeff.
I went to HF.
Yeah. And then half of the week I would be with my dad, which was in South Shore. So that's why South Shore is so important to me, because my parents are my dad and my stepmom are still there, over 40 years in the same household in South Shore. So that's really where I draw my roots from. But when I would come home to my friends, on the South Side, I have friends who, I'm preparing for college, junior year in high school, and they weren't talking about life after high school. I'm looking at colleges, looking at scholarships. And that just wasn't the conversations that some of my closest friends were having in my community at home. And so that's when I realized, it was my junior year in high school, when I realized like, oh, wow, I had something special in my house. I had something that my parents really, having those positive role models literally can change the trajectory of your life. And after I went to U of I and came back, and I saw how some of my friends' lives took a downward turn, that's what made me become a mentor. So I was not very active in high school, to be honest with you. But it wasn't until I went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign that I started mentoring as a sophomore in college. I would mentor freshmen. And honestly, I have not stopped mentoring. That's where I found my calling, right there.
Yes.
It's been 20 years, and I've been mentoring ever since.
Beautiful. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I didn't know that about Jamila, and I've known Jamila forever, which is funny. I actually, similarly, it was really my family. When I was like a little kid, I was really blessed, man. I have both parents around. They were young. They got married at like 18, 19, and 22. But they've been married now 42 years. And my parents surrounded us. I always had like positive role models and influences around us. So my uncles were the first men that I saw who were all married men, hardworking men, dedicated to family, committed, funny, had swag. All of them had their own vibe about who they were. And I remember early on, I was really interested in like tech and games. And my dad would sit me down in front of him. And I asked my dad one time, like, how are video games made? And he's like, oh, that's computer coding. Is that something you think you want to do? And I'm talking like 7 years old. This is like 1987, 86, before computers were really affordable.
Before the super highways, what they called it.
Before the highway. And my dad was like, I'll find someone or a program for you to talk to. And that was the approach that my parents took most of our young lives. And so when I had an opportunity, I didn't know why I felt so compelled to do it, but I started working with a youth program when I was 15. Called Kids with a Positive Attitude, where I was a youth leader. And then a couple years later at my church in New Faith, I became a youth ministry leader through a program called JAM, and peer mentorship, which I didn't know that's what it was. I was just trying to open doors for my friends, because I would see that I knew had a lot of potential, but weren't like maximizing on what they were doing. That was the start of it. When I went off to school, Yoshi didn't tell you, but the reason why he's like one of my favorite humans. Not only is he a phenomenal young man, he's also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, which I'm a member of. And that's through the fraternity, our frat at Mizzou, we mentored. And so it was always something that I did through most of my career. Now, the interesting part is I did it working full time. I was an engineer. I was building a tech company and mentoring for the 100 Black Men of Chicago through the Kappa League, out at, through my church. I was teaching Bible study. I mentored all the time. And it was up until doing a leadership development program, first New Leaders Council, and then the Impact program that Jamila's also done as well. Impact Fellow. Shout out to the Urban League. It was my mentor in that program, Dr. William Towns, who was like, I see you doing all of these things. You're running this crazy race, and I don't understand what finish line you're running towards. You love young people. You love mentorship. You love service. Why aren't you doing that as a career? And I don't think it was ever broached to me that was something that I could actually do at this level. he and I sat down and did like a leadership action plan. And I had started to, broach that opportunity, going to work at New Teacher Center, and then going to work originally for my mentor, Dominique Jordan Turner, who is the CEO of Chicago Scholars when I started. And then 3 years later, having the opportunity to step in her footsteps as the third CEO of the organization. And I'm doing the work of my life. Like, I've literally found exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And the whole time I knew I felt purposed in doing it when I was doing it like outside of work, but the commitment to actually do it and stop running after ambition and money, but running towards purpose became, the best thing that was possibly suited for
I got
me.
a hot flash.
So it's,
I mean, that's a hot flash moment for real.
You gotta put that on a shirt and run it toward purpose. I'm writing it down.
Yes, these are t-shirts, these are posters. That was a lot. Because I mean, you said I'm living, when you talk about, because we all been through some stuff, like, we don't know where we're going, where we're coming. We look at our kids, we look at our teenagers, look at the state of the world, and to have your hands on some young people because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Not that you have to, and you go to work and be like, what time we getting off? But it's just pouring yourself into it. And then I looked at y'all resume, it was too long. Our producer said it was too long. It would have took up all of the dang gone show. But just, looking at some of the stuff, especially Jeffrey, where you live by that quote, to whom much is given, much is required. I think that just really resonates with talking to some of your mentorees and watching you, right? My brother's a part of Kappa Alpha Psi. I didn't know if you knew Brian. And then, and just all the stuff you've done with Aerial Investments and New Leaders Council alum, and then you with the Chicago Agent and the University Hidden Figures Award that you received from Rush. I mean, just like it just goes on and on and on. It's unbelievable to just know that you all chose this resume, all this stuff, and then turned around and then poured it into the generation. That's the most philanthropic thing that I think we can do. Dr. Gettings, do you want to chime in on something you want to know or ask?
I just want to say, as a mental health professional specializing in child and adolescence, I really admire both of you, but that really just doesn't do it any justice, because I think, one, coming from a personal place, you all share about the role that your parents played and how they raised you and what messages they gave you as a child. And I personally did not experience that growing up. And the first person that I really reached out to was a school counselor. And I think that was the first. I was at Whitney Young in the 7th grade. That was the first time that I really had an opportunity to have someone outside of my immediate family help and address things that I needed to address. And I think from where I sit today, working with youth that have survived abuse, working in DCFS, working in detention centers, and understanding that so many people, like Jamila just said, are not being poured into in their homes. They're not having the same conversations that some people take for granted. It just emphasizes why your role is so important in the community. You serve as that lifeline for those people who are not getting those messages, who are not getting that direction. And like your mentee mentioned, if you can't see it, you can't imagine it. And so I just want to thank both of you all for sharing your passion and explaining why it's so important for you to do this work, because it's so needed, 100%. And I just hope, I know y'all get that, but I just got to say it's so needed.
Tell us, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One question though I wanted to say, I'm sorry, but like for the children you work with or adolescents that you work with, do you all ever find yourselves recommending therapy or recommending that
good question.
Work with a therapist?
Yeah, I mean, we have Chicago Scholars brings in 600 high school juniors every year, and we stay with them for 7 years. And so all in, we got 3,000 kids in college who are experiencing trauma each and every day, whether it's the trauma of things in their families or their home lives, things on campus, or just turning on the television. I want to give y'all a shout out for setting the tone for this night at the start with the moment of prayer, because while we're sitting here safe in our homes, there are people a world away being attacked and undergoing massive trauma. And our kids turn that on and are worried at a degree that we can't quite understand. We may be able to, because I do remember being a child in the 80s, worrying about nuclear war. Right now, we've got little kids hearing those terms and thinking that through again. So we have to recommend not only therapy, we have a partnership with NowPow, with JPA, the juvenile, another organization that provides mental health services for our young people. We have a social worker on the staff that actually works to help get our kids the therapies they need, not just our students. We have a person responsible for parent and family engagement, because sometimes it's the parent and the families that need that caring individual to buffer the trauma so that they can be there for their child. So we've built some parameters around that to be supportive of our students.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is something that we definitely talk about internally within our organization. So for those who may not know, Ladies of Virtue is all about empowering girls, specifically Black girls, to become confident and purpose-driven leaders. And so we do that in 3 ways: character development, career readiness, and civic engagement. But I would say one unique aspect of our program, and I'm glad you asked that question just about the mental health resources, is that we infuse mental health in everything that we do. Prior to the pandemic, we always had mental health as it related to our career readiness program. We wanted to make sure that our girls knew, how to control your emotions if you find yourself in difficult situations at work and working with peers and supervisors and so forth. But in the midst of the pandemic, we found that over 70% of our families had asked for mental health support. One, because they were just going through, as we all were. But 2, what we saw was that parents really were having difficulties communicating with their daughters in our program. There was just a lot going on. And so what we did over the last 2 years really was to create a more robust mental health program. So how we do that, we have not only mental health workshops in our career readiness program, but literally everything. So even with our Love Grows program, we were teaching girls how to grow their own food. Before we even started, we started with mindfulness techniques. So every program that we have has a mental health component. But even outside of that, if our girls need additional supports, we have and Tommy was in this program. I don't know if she talked about it earlier, but we have an 8-week program called Mental Health Girl Chats, where 3 to 5 girls are paired together, and then they walk through a curriculum with one of our therapists. Shout out to Chanel. She's been with us for about 6 years now. She's phenomenal with young people. And then they're working through how to cope, different coping mechanisms, how to control your emotions. And really the most important aspect is to provide a safe space for girls, because especially working with Black girls and their youth development, they need to know that they have a place where they are supported and that they can just talk about whatever in a non-judgmental environment. So outside of that piece, we also have the opportunity where if they wanted to have one-on-one, any girl in our program can sign up for one-on-one up to 12 weeks for free. So that's amazing as well. And shout out to our funders, first of all, because we weren't able to do that 2 years ago. So I think that's with the initiatives, with social justice being at the forefront, with, understanding that Black-led organizations really understand the needs of Black people. We're starting to see more funding come our way, which allows us then to provide these services that we never had before.
Amen. Yes.
You got funding. That's awesome. And that's the most.
We're not a Chicago Scholars funding, but
I need about 2 million more. I'm trying to.
Right, we're not at the Chicago Scholars level, but it is a blessing that we're continuing to get those resources.
And we work together. Jamila and I, like our students, we got students that are in Ladies of Virtue and Ladies of Virtue that are in Chicago Scholars. This is like, we want to make sure that there's a safety net for all the students, that they can get what they need where they need it. And so when we're out here, whoever's watching in the funder community, continue to support our organizations.
Continue.
There are so many more students out here that we need to go reach, right? That the market opportunity, if we're talking business terms, is huge. And just talking to basics straight to the community, our kids really need us. There is a mental health crisis going on amongst our young people right now. So we have to figure out how we can do more. And we only can do that with funding. No money, no mission.
Absolutely.
Y'all hear that? Money, money, money. And that's the same
Money,
here.
money.
And I see you right now, and I'm going to let you guys know how to reach them. I think there's going to be a slide that's going to come up. So we appreciate you reaching out. And again, like what we do here at the Brain Truth is trying to normalize that conversation. As you know, I went down back in June of 2020 and spent 19 days in a psychiatric hospital. So you can hear all that stuff about, oh, I did this in entertainment, this and that. And I'm just trying to talk about mental illness like we talk about getting my hair braided or going to the movies, just like how that one kid, I think it was Malcolm, when he was like, I was crying and I was, you know, on the phone, and then he called. Like, what young Black man could just say that with just ease? And that comes from, you know, having that leadership and ability to just be real and authentic about this journey. Because when you say you have a mentor, that means you needed a mentor. That means you say, I can't do it alone. And that to me is huge. So I want to bring in, because I know, I'm sure Stephanie's like, really? You just gonna keep, I mean, we getting down, Stephanie, but I do want to bring in Rachel and Brandes, because I know Brandes also was a mentoree with 100 Black Men, of which you also work with Jeffrey. And then we also want to bring in Rachel really quickly, some other, you know, people that want to join the conversation really quickly about their own journey. So Rachel and Brandes, come on in the room so you can talk directly to these incredible incredible mentors. So I know Rachel Thomas and Brandes Trenshaw. Did I say that right? Trenshaw. You want to talk a little bit about, you know, you can start with you, Rachel, because I think I'm putting it together. Are you connected to Gwen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I couldn't put it together, and then Gwen called and reminded me. Oh my goodness. I want you to start off about your own journey and how mentorship played, because I know now today you're a psychotherapist, and in what you've been listening to from our two guests, and, you know, give them some like, you know, some 3 snaps about what they're doing. So let's hear from you a little bit.
All right. Well, can you hear me okay, first of all? Okay. Well,
yes, we hear you. Awesome.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for having me come on. I really appreciate it. It's very honoring. So to start with my story, gosh, I don't want to say it's your classic, trauma story, because I don't want to, downplay anyone's trauma. All trauma is bad, right? So I grew up with in a single parent household. 4 siblings, we all had different fathers. So there was some strange dynamics going on in the household. But anyway, I guess with all those stressors, there was just, and maybe not even that, I don't even want to blame it on those stressors. It's just the parent that I had, she was very abusive physically, emotionally, psychologically, just the whole 9. And we also grew up in poverty most often, actually all the time. Grew up in poverty. And I got to this point where I got tired of not so much myself being abused, but seeing one of my sisters get abused. I mean, my mom, I actually don't even call it that. I call her by her first name. But I mean, it got to points where she would almost kill my sister. She had to be hospitalized at one point. And I mean, our mom, she kept a thick blanket of fear over us. There's that what goes on in this house stays in this house sort of deal. So we often didn't tell what would, tell people at the school, tell CPS. We often had CPS calls. I did actually try to tell one of the CPS workers, kind of giving her some cues with my facial expressions and what I was doing with my eyes, but she never actually even looked at me, So this was a worker who was just jaded in her position, she just truly did not care anymore. And so, fast forwarding. I was able to share some of what was going on at home with my track coach in high school. I went to 2 different high schools. It was South Shore High School and Dunbar. And so I shared, at both of these high schools, many of my teachers knew what was going on. Like school administration, they knew what was going on, but oftentimes they really didn't do much or anything about it. But at Dunbar, I developed relationships with my track coach and with the school social worker. And so I let them know about an incident one day. They called CPS, and things hit the fan, like hit the ceiling pretty quickly after that. And so my mom eventually put me out. And so the first thing that I did, I got connected with Gwen Baxter of Chicago. She's a longtime youth advocate. I got connected with her through another student at school at Dunbar that was going through something similar at home. And Gwen was one of the first people that I called. I called 3 people. It was Gwen, my track coach, and the social worker. And, I find it so important and significant that all of those people, they were Black women. And, later, recently, I actually kind of thought about that. I'm like, that was really important for me to see that there were Black women, adults in my life that I could look to for some help, and these Black women who could show some concern for me, enough concern to do something about what was going on. Because the main model of a Black woman that I had in my life was my mom, and it was absolutely terrible.
So you think that you had enough? Do you think when you saw your sister, that was it, and that gave you the go ahead and the courage? Because some people don't tell. I mean, Jamila, I'm sure you can have stories of young women that's been through what she's been through, and they don't necessarily tell, right?
That's true. That's absolutely right. There are instances where we may not even find out about something until she's older, an adult. So you're absolutely right. There are definitely those circumstances.
Thank you, Rachel, for sharing that. That was a lot. We got to bring you back with Gwen later on, because there's so much more. I want to get over to Brandes, and I want to kind of pose that same question to you about your impact of mentoring mental health. And did you work with Jeffrey, and do you guys know each other, or was this one of yours?
So I definitely know him. He's a phenomenal young man that I've known.
He is, isn't he?
My eyes on for a long time. He was part of our South Suburban site.
Okay.
I ran the Pathways to Success program at UIC, but being on the board of the 100, I also saw who got scholarships, who was doing exceptionally well in school, and that is a phenomenal young man. I'm really proud of him and all he's accomplished.
What you got to say about that, Brandes? Who's an awesome producer, everybody, who actually redid my intro. I can't wait to start using it, but he redid the intro to my song, to my podcast, which is off the chain because it's got like a house music. He had to like add the old lady music to it. He was like, is this good enough?
We need to hear it.
Go on, Brandes.
First of all, I want to say thank you for that, Mr. Beckham. I would say that my journey coming up, I was a grandmother's boy for sure. Being that I had a young mother and she had a lot of work to take care of to get to where she is today. And I would say when she passed in 2014, rest in peace. So after that, it was a bit of a transition for me in my life. And I feel like when I joined the South Suburban chapter my freshman year of high school, it was life-changing for me because as a freshman in high school, I got to see the pressure that the older guys were getting, being a junior and being a senior in high school, and just having to deal with where they're about to go to college. We would do these things called like elevator questions, where we would answer questions if someone was to ask you about yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got 2 minutes to tell them everything. So me just witnessing that pressure early on was great. And I had a phenomenal mentor at the time, Fred Carter. Rest in peace to Fred Carter, who passed in 2019. And I would say he just really, really taught me that there is no limit as to when someone can really, really start learning and developing. He treated us all all the same, whether you were in the 6th grade or whether you were a senior in high school, because that was pretty much the age range between the two. And Fred Carter really just opened up my eyes to pick and choose my friends wisely, I would say. He oftentimes pulled me to the side and told me, like, okay, well, you tell me you hang out with this person in high school and they have a 2.8, but you have a 3.7. What are you doing? Like he would just constantly make sure I was on track and constantly make sure I was looking up and never looking down.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely what I would say. Mentorship helped me with a lot coming up.
So Jamila and Jeffrey, you want to pour into these, even though they're, adult-ish, but they've had some things that they've been through. And if they were presented to you, can you pour some words into them? Because I think now this show, I've got people texting me. I mean, they're texting me like, this is a good show. How do I reach them? They're texting me. But there are a lot of people who are searching. And so they represent a lot of people that's watching. So just let's pour into them. And then I want you guys to kind of give some last words on the work you're doing with Ladies in Virtue. I think you told us a little bit, and with Chicago Scholars.
Ladies first.
I always say praise the process. When I hear Rachel's story of the trauma with her mom and what she may have gone through, that story is going to bless someone else. Someone else, a little young girl that's in our program, a Ladies of Virtue, or in Chicago Scholars, have similar situations. And that story is going to let that little girl know, like, you know what? Someone understands me, they see me, they hear me, they love me, and I can rise up just like Rachel did. And so when I heard that story, that was the process that she had to go through in order to help someone else. Someone else's testimony is the blessing that person needs to rise up in their situation. And so I love that. I want you to come and speak to our girls, Rachel.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, yes.
I love it. I love it. Sometimes we look back at what we've gone through, and we know it's for the benefit of someone else. But I saw a couple people in the comments just say, how can they be involved in Ladies of Virtue and mentor with Ladies of Virtue? And so please just go to our website, lovchicago.org, and that will allow you to tap in. We have a different info sessions that are coming up over the next few months. And so come on board, tap in, get involved with our organization, even if it's just one time where like Rachel, who can come and speak and just share her testimony. We would love that as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to.
I would just echo in Jamila, what's interesting today is really, as I look at this screen and everybody that's been part of this, like the power of relationships, right? So you may not know the story, but I told your sister, I told EJ how when I was a young farmer rep, it was your dad who was one of the very first doctors who would give me an opportunity to come in and talk. When I'm a 25-year-old pharmaceutical rep trying to figure out like exactly why am I in this industry in the first place, but he was kind, and he told me his story about how he found the new direction through med school late in life, right? He went to med school much later than most folk, right? And so thinking that through, of course, you being one of the first customers of Black Box Creative, and then Napasha, growing up with Jamila, working.
I was one of the first customers.
One of the very first. We started it in 2011, and I think we worked with you in 2011 and 12, and probably in like 2014 or 15.
2014.
Wow, that's some history I didn't know. Okay.
And why relationships matter. It's the effect of how the people that we're connected to and why we pour value in and value each other, why we have to consistently look out for one another, right? As you didn't know, I would get a text from your mom, look out for my baby. And always I would call Fred up and ask about you, right? And Fred was one of my mentors, rest in power to Fred Carter. Like these connections, and it is so vital. And I think I heard President Obama say it. He said, if you take care of yourself by giving yourself grace, and you continue to do that, you eat right, you pray, you create space for mindfulness, and you take care of the people that are connected to you, the work will always get done. The work will naturally be taken care of. And that's whatever work it is, whether it's nonprofit work, community work, mental health work, yourself and people. And I think the advice I would give, any young person today is create space for grace for yourself, You will not always make the right decisions, but if you lean towards what feels right more often than not, and you trust yourself, you will take care of yourself. You take care of the people that are connected to you. Be good to others, respect others. The work of your life will get done. And you can be part of Chicago Scholars by going to chicagoscholars.org. We're also looking for mentors right now. And we're launching a special Men of Color pilot program specifically for Black and Latinx boys. That program will be the first of its kind next year in partnership with other community-based organizations. It's a shift for us as an org, but we're going to start working with young men younger in their high school track so that we can get them to be successful juniors and seniors like Brandez into our program through college.
Awesome. And Rachel, why don't you give us some quick, I think we got 1 minute parting words for you, because we got to bring you back. That was just like, I was sitting here like, okay, so that's like a whole hour conversation with.
I'm sorry.
It all came together too. I'm like, was that from Gwen? Okay, so give us some party words, you, and then you, Brandez, and then we'll put up the information on how to reach our 2 mentors.
So what Jeffrey was just saying about I'm sorry. I'm not sure if that was Jeffrey or Jamia. I'm so sorry. But someone mentioned, having to go through these bad experiences so that, you can help someone else. And those were my exact thoughts when I was in high school and still dealing with the trauma. I had decided then that if I'm able to overcome all of these problems, even though I hadn't yet, then and learn these things that I need to, I can teach those things to other people. And so I kept that. That was like maybe my freshman year of high school. I kept that with me and decided I wanted to counsel. And so, but of course the work needed to be with myself, healing, so that turned into social work. And like you mentioned already, Allison, now I'm a psychotherapist providing, therapy to other people who have had complex trauma. And it is such an amazing work. Jeffrey, you said to whom much is given, much is required.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I completely agree with that. And I love that you said that. And it's so true in this work. When people open up their lives and let you in, it is so honoring. And every time I meet with a client, I'm just like, this is amazing. I have to take all of this serious. Every person that comes in, every story that they have. And it's really amazing to partner with them and watch them, grow, watch them heal. And I don't think I would have been able to get to this point had I not had Gwen Baxter, had I not had Dr. Regina Trice from Dunbar, or Coach Townsend from Dunbar. Those were some pretty important women in my life who provided some sort of mentorship.
That's awesome. Brandez?
I would say that for me, it's just always been about how Mr. Beckham was saying about making sure that the people around you, if the people around you are comfortable, then a lot of times work will get done. And with me, after coming out of high school, I always used to tell myself something I came up with in high school. It was never beat the odds by getting even. And when I say that, it's like whatever I strive to achieve or whoever I'm looking at as like the ceiling, I kind of try to break past that ceiling. I don't want to get even with that. I want to break past. I think somebody was saying that actually earlier about your mentor's ceiling being your floor, right?
Yes.
I was listening to that, and I really would piggyback off of that. So moving after that, in anything that I pursued, I always just wanted to push and raise that ceiling. And now being a senior in college and also a co-founder of a business known as KYW, standing for Know Your Worth, I've understood that you do have to make good environments for people to come and collaborate and for people to have conversations like this one. Like, for instance, since this March, Women's History Month, my company will be having a conference and a brunch where I'll be bringing.
Oh, excuse me, a conference and a brunch. Oh,
yes. On the 26th.
That's awesome, Brandez.
So with that, like how Mr. Beckham was saying, I had to realize being a boss, you have to create that environment. And I really, really, really like what he said. That I definitely would that.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness. I didn't know. Am I invited to the brunch?
Absolutely.
Play my song. Okay. So, Dr. Geddes, you can kind of wrap it up, and then we're going to bring in Dr. Ivy.
Okay.
I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just sitting here like this could go on and on forever. I just feel like we ain't done. We just started.
Yes, I know. I just want to kind of end by saying the people's names who came up this evening who are not here with us, but who have clearly made a huge impact. Brian Sleet, Fred Carter. Fred Carter, I had him on speed dial for 4 years.
Wow.
And so I just want to dedicate our show to those mentors and those who have played a huge role, who aren't here with us, because I know they're here with us in spirit. And I know this is God's work, and so many things are full circle. You know, we couldn't have done it ourselves. So I'm so thankful for all of you, and so blessed to have you in my circle of connectedness. Okay. And I'm just appreciative, so appreciative.
I ditto that all the way. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to say. You want to have any other things, because this could go on and on. But I personally want to work with the Ladies of Virtue. I don't know in what capacity, but I'm here for it. And, you know, Jeffrey, I want a painting, you know, and just anything that we can do, because I know now that God has assigned me to do this work. I never would have thought I'd be in front of the camera. I'm always behind the camera, but he used me, you know, when I went down, and now I'm up and trying to, you know, do the work of sharing these kind of conversation and information to help save, but not one person, you know? So with that being said, I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to get in touch with the Ladies of Virtue, you can go to www.lovechicago.org. That's the Ladies of Virtue, Transforming Lives and Destined for Greatness. And if you want to reach the Chicago Scholars and to get in touch with our wonderful Jeffrey Beckham, that's www.chicagoscholars.org. And so I want to bring in Dr. Ivy so we can end this show on this really amazing, kind of peaceful vibration, because it was loaded. And as we do here at the Brain Truth, we end every show in the mindfulness state, because as we know, going through this journey is always about the mind, the brain, the body, and the soul, and how are we doing the work to heal that. So what did you get out of this, Dr. Ivy?
Well, it was certainly an interesting conversation. And every time I heard someone speak, it reminds me of the fact that what they are talking about is what I call soul mentoring or soul coaching. You know, it provides a way for searching for answers and finding the answers to the questions that continue to elude one. That what we're doing is tending the soul through providing that guidance. During a soul mentoring session, you kind of weave through all of these stories and things and circumstances and connections and finding a direction or understanding. What is my soul purpose, and how is this showing up in my life? And a mentor comes, a lot of times mentoring, you know, in this area where I'm in DC, a lot of times they think mentoring is taking somebody to McDonald's and sitting down and having a talk. And that is fine. That's a conversation. But when you think about everything that every story had in it was really about attending to the soul.
Yes.
You know,
And I felt
helping
that.
them to find that balance in life and that direction for the future. So it's not just building skills. And I heard someone say, oh, that he had a friend that had a 2.0 and he was wondering why was he hanging out with him. That kind of like struck me a little bit, because we don't want to be judgmental. We want to be conscientious. So if I have a friend that isn't as smart as I am, or does not have as many supports as I do in my life, I don't want to see people just turn their backs on them. I want to see you learn how to elevate, but not necessarily discriminate.
And I think, I don't know if he so much said it in a way to discriminate. I think he said it as an observation I think, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I heard it, and that's fine. I think
Yeah.
that's important, because the point of it is that if somebody is looking down, and you don't want them to look down with you. But that kind of struck me a little bit, because I want to encourage people. Yes, you are on your path, and other people are on their path, but you can't lose your sight of your guidance, your direction. So soul coaching is really helping one find that purpose in life, finding those skills that are naturally connected to your soul mission.
Yeah.
I believe that we all have a soul mission. And when we stay focused on that soul mission, there is an elevation that happens in your life. Doors open, wide open, when you are on purpose. So I kept hearing that word a lot. So yeah, I see a lot of soul mentoring going on.
I did
with
too, and
that
I
open-
felt it. Didn't you feel it in you
Oh,
when
yeah,
you hear Jamila,
absolutely.
when Jamila was speaking and Jeffrey? It was like I felt it in my soul. Like it wasn't just them just saying words. You know, sometimes you're talking and like, you know, I do this and it was very humbling and
Yes.
very rewarding. And they're actually
Yes.
doing it. You know, like they're really for real showing up every day.
Yes.
You know,
and
doing this kind of
and
work.
being on purpose themselves.
And on
And you can
purpose.
feel the strength of that. You
Girl,
can
I'm
really
getting
feel the
chills right
strength of
now.
that.
Every time I get chills, it's just like, woo! I just got
You can
chills.
feel the strength of that. You know?
can. And so I'm just so
Identifying your
appreciative.
soul level, your soul desires, and then finding a way to activate them.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And Dr. Gettings, what's your final take?
I'm 100% on board with everything that Dr. Ivy is saying. Like, this has to come from a deeper place. And when you just walk through all of the different connections that surfaced tonight, right?
Yeah, he was telling me something about my dad. I didn't know he was no pharmacist. Where the heck did that come from?
There was a lot of connections tonight. It's
So
full
many
circle.
connections,
Full
but
circle.
full
Full
circle.
circle.
And I think that what's really important is that we recognize our soul purpose and continue
Yeah.
to support each other. We all have our own way of doing the work, if you will. We all have our own kind of space. So no one thing looks the same, but yet we're all doing something very similar from the way that it feels and the impact. And so I think it's so important that we have these conversations on a regular basis, so that we create more awareness, not just about, teen mental health, but everyone. Obviously, that's the purpose of the Brain Truth. But I feel tonight we really hit on something when it comes to soul purpose and social connectedness. And
I think we need to look at that, Dr. Ivy. We're supposed to have another meeting. I think it's supposed to be something that's supposed to come of this connectiveness. And just that the young woman is a psychotherapist, Dr. Ivy, and
Yes, I was
maybe
so
you
impressed by that. You know,
and talk about what you're doing with the sound spa and sound vibronics in her practice and what she's doing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Oh,
now we
yeah.
need to
Full
just
circle,
have another
full
round
circle.
table think tank meeting.
We do. And you know, it
Okay.
reminds me of what my great grandmother used to tell me. She said, always be good to people because you never know when the circle is coming back.
Okay, the circle's definitely coming back, I think,
Mhm.
big time. So with that being said, I want to wrap up this incredible show. We have done tremendous work tonight, ladies. So Dr. Gettings, we won't be seeing you for a minute, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I am here. I am part of the Brain Gang. I'm not going
Okay,
nowhere.
because I know you said you may have to, I just want to make sure that I
Yeah.
know we don't want to talk about Stephanie. I know she's got to take another direction. I just want to say, acknowledge our executive producer, Stephanie. I'm going to get emotional, but what I've learned now is about self-care and about, supporting your family and doing what God's assigned you. And so in the short amount of time that Stephanie has been with me, it has been such an honor And I think we all can say that. And I love her so much. She
Yes,
has
we
such
can.
the right spirit to get us this jump start. So Stephanie Reynolds, we love you. You're always welcome to come back. I'm always going to be texting you every now and then, like what I'm supposed to do here, where I'm supposed to go, you know, and hopefully you can help the other new producer we're bringing into the show. And I just want to say thank you and I love you so much. So thank you to our guests today.
Thank you, Stephanie.
We had a big old show. Tune in next week because, you know, this is National Women's History Month. Okay. And next week is going to be International Women's Day. And so next week, I'm going to have a really cool show because we're going to be bringing on some of my good old friends. And one of the most important people we're bringing on for next week's show is Krishana. And so Krishana is one of our producers, my right hand, and who is a shining example of a woman power, resilience. She is one of very few female technology experts. She is the data manager for CPS with an extensive background in information technology. She designs databases and apps. She is the owner of Hats of All Trade, an IT consulting company. And she came in here and turned this show into a magnificent work of technology. And then my good girlfriend, which is a nationally renowned casting director, Phaedra Harris, will be here over the next few weeks to co-host and interview some top Hollywood female players. Phaedra has 25 years experience in feature film and television casting. Harris has been involved in the casting of well over 50 films, from starring Butter with Terrence Howard to The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis and Chris Tucker, and every major production house and studio, and has coached some of the biggest stars through her audition lab in Hollywood. So I can't wait to see what next week is about. We're going to be very Hollywood next week. Okay. All right, guys. So let's get ready for the brain bliss. I'm always humbled right now. So let's prepare ourselves for a clearing of the brain, the mind, and the body and the soul. Take a deep breath. Breathe it out. Breathe in some of this humility and some of this beautiful soul mentoring. And remind yourself, I am a peaceful soul. I am a pure soul. I am capable. I desire to heal. And the power is right here within me. I am open to being authentic. I am open to letting go. Letting go of ego, anger, and attachment. I am open to forgiveness. I am okay. I desire mental, physical, and emotional awareness. I desire clarity, calm, and pure mindfulness. I am okay. I will receive love and give love freely. I am open to a deeper connection to Source. I am love. I am love. Thank you, Brangels, for another great episode. I love you. See you next week. And that's the Brain Truth.
Vibrations of love. And some say love is a verb. But much deeper than that, love is a vibration. It is that energy that stirs the soul and opens up the heart. Vibrations of love call out to the divine that connects us with the beauty of life and the oneness of it all. I need not to say it with words, although it is always nice to hear. But greater still is to feel it. Vibrations of love lift me higher, and I fill the empty spaces within the soul. It is the divine in its purest essence. It is me at the height of my being. I am vibrations of love.